It's time for the podcast. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everyone. Jane Hamill, what's up? I am recording this on the most beautiful day of the year in Chicago, 75 and sunny. I can't wait to finish up my work and go outside. So today we're going to talk about why I think my clothing line beat the odds and was successful. I'll tell you 5 things I think I did right, 5 things I definitely did wrong with my apparel business and my boutique, my retail store. And then I'll tell you what I would do if I were starting over again today. All right, let's dive in. So first, why my clothing line was a success. What does success even look like? Just for the purposes of this episode, I'm just talking about money, profit, the ability to support myself and my family, pay my team, buy a house, buy a beach house, hire painters for my house. I remember thinking that's when I had made it. I could afford to get my house on the inside painted by real painters. Like that felt successful to me. So why 5 things I did right. Number 1, I was obsessed. Right or wrong, I don't know. But in this case, it did contribute to my success. I was obsessed with my business. I did not believe and I did not listen to the naysayers. I had a mantra written out on my refrigerator. This is embarrassing to me to tell you the story, but I literally had a mantra of I have a successful store, blah, 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 because I started with a retail store when I was 25 years old. I wrote out a mantra of what it was like to have my successful business, including how much money I made. And I put it on my refrigerator. And I don't remember having a party, but I did. I had a party and people saw it. And a woman like 20 years later told me she remembered that mantra. And that is funny to me because now I might do a mantra. I might write it out and put it up, but I would not put it on my fridge. So I was obsessed. I didn't listen to people who were like, I don't think that's going to work. And I leaned into my mantra. I even put it on my fridge for all to see about my successful business as if it was happening today. And I believed in this quote. Ready? This is from Swami Vivekananda. I will put it in the show notes. Show notes are going to be back on the site, fashionbrainacademy.com/why. Take up one idea. Make that one idea your life. Dream of it. Think of it. Live on that idea. Let the brain, the body, the muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea. And just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success. And this is the way great spiritual giants are produced. I love it so much. Especially leave every other idea alone. Number 2, what I did right. I was scared. But not too scared in the beginning. I'll tell you this. I had a stomach ache for like most days for the first 2 years of my business. I'm not kidding. Like an upset stomach or just like icky stomach, whatever that's called, right? I told myself over and over, hey, if it doesn't work out, you can always waitress. So I think these competing messages of like, I'm scared. Don't worry, you can always waitress. Oh, I'm scared. This is nerve-wracking. Don't worry, you can always waitress. I think being able to go between these two and not stay in the like, oh my God, oh my gosh, crazy brain. These competing messages kept me from losing my fleeting mind because starting a business, growing a business, running a business, especially a fashion business or a high risk business is a total mind F. And if you don't manage your crazy brain, it's going to be a lot harder to get things done and to be successful. Number 3, why it worked. I had no safety net. I had to be a marketer. I had to be a business person first and a creative person second. For me, this worked out. Having no safety net, I was all in. I had no side job. I had nothing. Okay. I had an amount of money that I could spend to open up my retail store and stock it with clothing that I designed. And that was it. After that, I had nothing. So no plan B. I had no extra funding. I had no connections, no ongoing financial backing. It was make this work or get a job. And since I was only 25 years old, I was able to live very, very lean. I shouldn't say it's just my age. It's just that I didn't have kids. I didn't have a mortgage. I could live in a very cheap apartment. I could eat cheap food. I could lean on my friends and even my parents in the suburbs, for food. It was about 5 years before I made a really decent salary. Now, I always paid myself from the very beginning. So I always supported myself with the business. I never took extra money after the launch thing. And I had a line of credit, but I never really took out loans or anything. And, but it took me about 5 years to be like, oh, I don't have to live in this apartment. I can get a real apartment. I can buy a car, things like that. So no safety net definitely worked for me. And then it forced me to become a marketer and not just a clothing designer. And I'm not saying just a clothing designer, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. I was forced to become a business person first and a creative person second. Mama had bills. Number 4, I listened to my customers, particularly when it came to fit. The clothes that I designed and sold fit people for the most part. I worked really, really hard on fit. They were mostly functional, but I was particularly obsessed with getting the fit right. I did understand the customer's lifestyle. I understood their body issues, of which there were many. I traveled a lot. I knew the person who was buying the clothes when I first started out, and that helped a lot. Okay. I will say that when it comes to body issues and selling apparel, upper middle class white chicks are like the hardest people to sell to, not to sell to work with, because I don't know, man, this was, years ago, but I will tell you, just when I had women of color or different types of women, they were really fun to work with. But like the average, upper middle class white chick with, a size 4 body who does yoga 3 times a week, like she had a lot of body issues and it was tiring. I'm just being as honest as I can on this video. Number 5, I paid close attention to my numbers, profit margins, cash flow, open to buy for, planning inventory, planning my classes and, categories of merchandise in my retail store. How much am I going to order in pants? How much in flowy pants? How much in dresses? How much in evening dresses? I surrounded myself with really good people. I had a retail consultant. I almost always had a coach, and I had a retail consultant, particularly for inventory. And I really did pay attention to the numbers because I was in charge of paying myself and paying my rent. And it was never something I could get away with to like fudge very much. I did used to fudge my cost sheets. I did. That's a different day. I will link to that episode about costing and pricing in the show notes back on the site. Okay. But I paid very close attention to my numbers, my bank, my cash flow, All right, let's talk about 5 things I did wrong. Number 1, I allowed myself to get exhausted. I did not prioritize my health, my energy, my ability to stay creative. I mean, you guys who design the products that you sell or create them, you know how hard it is to be the one to has to come up with the ideas and go be creative and create a product that people want to buy and then have to go out and sell it. That is a certain kind of cover your ears, mind fuckery that we have to deal with as creative entrepreneurs that other entrepreneurs do not have to deal with. If somebody has, the guy on the corner here, he sells, he fixes cars, right? That's not easy. That's a very busy small business, but he's not creating a product and saying, this is my creative process. Please buy it so I can eat and support my family. That's a real different thing. So I allowed myself to get exhausted because I didn't have my priorities quite the way I would have now, probably. I was a workaholic, and I started to resent my business. Now, when you're a startup and you're working 15 hours a day, that is fine. Like whatever. But how many years can you do that until you just get completely depleted? Number 2, things I did wrong. I lost track of my ideal customer. So in the things I did right, I listened to my customers. I'd also say I listened to my customers the thing I did wrong, because I only listened to my customers eventually. And then I kind of lost me in the process of creating the designs. Now, you have to understand, I was selling wholesale and retail. So when I was selling wholesale, I was selling to Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, Marshall Field's, on Macy's. And so I was getting all of these different buyers and retail customers, and my team, everybody was telling me what they needed in the product. And I started listening to everybody. And so I sort of lost myself. I lost my own singular vision of what I wanted to, create and who I wanted to serve. And I lost total track of customer. I remember being in the store one time having a team meeting, and this amazing 19-year-old girl worked for me. She was a college student, and I was saying something about our customer. And I had moved from one area in Lincoln Park in Chicago to a different one, 4 city blocks away. And I was saying, well, this is for this person, and this is for this ideal customer. And this one, we had like 3 different ideal customers we'd refer to, like, this is for Hannah. No, that one's for this person. And she looked at me and she goes, I don't know. I haven't been working here that long, but I don't see that our customers really work. And I was like, what are you talking about? Of course they work. And then I thought about it. And in the past year and more than a year since we moved locations, we had so many customers who were stay-at-home full-time moms, not working outside the home for money. And I had not really even noticed. And I was still creating clothing for my other customer, right? So yeah, it was very interesting. So I lost track of my ideal customer. And then I also lost track of who I wanted to attract, which is a whole different thing. So I kind of lost my personal spark. And I didn't always design the things that I loved and wanted to wear myself. I was sort of just catering to this certain neighborhood person. And so I didn't really fill up my own like creative cup, which is fine if your business is not doing that. That's totally fine. It's a business. But I should have been filling it up with other things, gardening, designing my own clothes for myself on the side, freaking whatever, something else that would be creative for me, rather than just trying to put it all into the business and be all the things for all people. There's more on that, but that suffices for today. Okay. The third thing that I did wrong is I was a total micromanager as a boss. So much to discuss on this. But basically, I will just tell you that being a micromanager and not empowering your team to like take over certain projects for real. Like I said I did. And I'd be like, okay, you're in charge of this. But then I would check on them like 100 times. So then they didn't feel like they could like do anything. Right. And I just thought I was being efficient. Like I had the startup mentality of do everything yourself. But I was in business for however many years with a staff and, people, real employees who could do really good things, really smart people. And I was still micromanaging them, which totally leads to exhaustion and frustration. Number 4, I don't want to put this, but I want to be as honest as I possibly can. My goal in 2023 is to be completely honest about things, even when it's hard. So number 4 thing I did wrong was I copied other people. I did. See points 1 and 2. Number 1, I got exhausted. Number 2, I lost track of my customer. So I started looking around more to say, well, what's she doing for her marketing? What's he doing over there? What are they designing? What fabrics are they using? What styles are working for them? And so it's one thing to get really inspired by somebody else's designs and the way they do things. It's another to look at it and be like, I'm going to do it just like that. Right. And that's what I started to do. So again, lost myself. I'm not sure if I was just too exhausted to come up with new things to do or to stay in my own lane, or I just got scared and worried and I didn't manage my brain properly. And I started feeling kind of scrappy and like looking for the next thing and sort of desperate for like, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? And like looking for other people rather than looking at the team, looking at the data, looking at the ideal customer, remembering, taking time to have a CEO day, like meeting with a coach to say, who do I serve here with these clothes? Why should they care? Why am I doing this? Who am I? Who's the product for? What's the ideal product? I didn't take time for strategy and big picture. And I just got more and more exhausted. And I didn't ask for help or get help from other creative people. I just kind of stole ideas. I was like, oh, I mean, it's fine, steal like an artist. It's all fine. I'm not saying I did anything illegal or immoral. I'm not proud of how much I looked at other people and emulated it and tried to do it exactly like that, but with a little twist, like a lot, too much. Okay. Number 5, just gonna put out there, I was a fabric hoarder. Yes, I do believe I was a fabric hoarder. So I often fell in love with the fabric because I am a clothing designer first. And I was. And then I would purchase fabric without a specific plan to use it. If you learn anything today, please, please, please don't buy supplies of any kind unless you know what you're going to do with them. Okay? Just don't do it. If you're like, oh my God, this fabric would be amazing for blah, 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 but you have no plans to create blah, 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 don't freaking buy it. Don't buy it. Okay. Oh my God. I know you do it because I work with you. I got lots of clients like you, like me, but it is a deadly mistake and it is financially disastrous to be sitting on inventory of any kind, whether it's raw goods or goods that have made up that you can't sell. Same for things like shoes. I carried shoes in my store just a little bit, like just to kind of go with the dresses and things. And sometimes, more often than I'd like to admit, I would see a pair of shoes that I loved. And I was like, oh my God, those are great. And I would order them for the store, which means a dozen pair. And then I would take my size out and then try to sell the other 11. But my style is probably not my ideal customer style when it comes to shoes. And so that was like just not smart. Honestly, it was monumentally stupid to use your business as your little playground, right? Like if I don't have a plan to sell that, don't buy it. If I just want my pet shoes, how about you make money with the shoes that are going to sell and go buy your own damn shoes, right? So many times, these types of things were not business person first decisions. Okay. So I'll tell you, when I sold my business and why, but let's just review for a second. 5 things I did right with my clothing line. I was obsessed. And in this case, that was a good thing for a while. I was scared, but not too scared. I was really scared, but not enough that it stopped me. I had no safety net. So I had to become a marketer first, a business person first. I listened to my customers and focused a lot on fit. I paid close attention to the numbers. I didn't really mess around at that one. Things I did wrong. I allowed myself to get exhausted. I think I had kind of a if it's not super, super hard, you're not working hard enough kind of mentality. I lost track of my ideal customer, which is number 2. Number 3, I was a total micromanager, which was so exhausting for me and probably awful for my team. I copied other people, much to my shame. And number 5, I was a fabric hoarder, which meant I sat on a lot of inventory that didn't get used, which was financially bad. Why I sold my business. So after 14 years and 2 kids, I sold the business. I was ready for new challenges. I wanted a more flexible lifestyle. Honestly, owning a retail store is one thing. And then designing all the products for the retail store while selling wholesale, having reps in 5 different cities. It was a lot. I was traveling a lot. My second son was born. He was sick. He really needed me. So I sold the wholesale and the retail business. I sold the retail store. I'm still the landlord for that space, by the way. We bought the property, which was great. And then I sold blankets online and wholesale, which was a great business, by the way. But then kid things, whatever. I got a job doing retail consulting. Not a job, but I was like a retail consultant via Retail Mavens, Kathy Wagner, who is now my colleague and friend. And then I started coaching for clothing and accessories designers and loved it. I taught a couple classes at Columbia College in the fashion studies department, and it was good. It was time for me to do something different, and more on that in another episode. If I started over again today, if I started over again today, what would I do? Number one thing I would do is I would create a product that is not sized. So much time spent in fittings, women and their body issues, particularly in the neighborhood where I was tiring for me. I grew up with a mom who never complained about her body. I didn't grow up with like a lot of body issues. And I think if you're strong and, if you're strong and alive, you're beautiful. And so when these size 4 fit as can be women would complain about their bodies, it really got to me. And that's something I could, obviously manage better today. But that was a frustrating part of it. And I just think I've done enough of fitted clothes. I'd do something that either was like you could wrap. If it was an apparel, it would be one size, something like that, right? Right now, I have another business with a partner selling native plants, like pollinator plants and pollinator education, North Branch Natives. It's a very local business in Chicago, and I love it. Nobody's butt looks fat when they buy plants for their garden, right? It's great. So here's what I want to offer for you. If you have a clothing or accessories line, anything that's sewn, and you feel like you're not doing it the quote unquote right way, I implore you to seek some guidance. I do. Like, I really, really wish that there's so many people who have taken my course about a sewn product that have said, I wish I found this 3 years ago. They've launched, they're doing the things, and then they go and they take the course and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been pricing all wrong. I've been trying to get sales in a way that doesn't make sense for me. I'm redoing the business a different way because now I see the options that are available to me, right? So if you want guidance, we do have a course, an online course. It's totally at your own pace. Okay. So if you want to start a line from scratch, or you want to sort of jumpstart or reinvent a little bit your current business, manufacturing, getting samples made, am I running this like a hobby or a business? How do I become like, what do I need to do to be a business person first and a creative person second? How do I attract my ideal customers? Who is going to be my ideal customer, right? All of this is in that course. You can find it back on the website, fashionbrainacademy.com. Direct link is fashionbrainacademy.com/launch. And I have positioned this course for a while as how to start a line. And what I'm finding is that a very large percentage of the people who are taking it have already started, but they feel they didn't do it in a way that's going to be profitable and successful for them. And now they're taking the course to kind of fix it and do it the right way. So that is there for you. Check it out. Just honestly, you do not have to do this shit on your own. I mean, it's an online course. This is not private coaching. That is something different. But it does give you, lots of years of experience. Plus I have, I think, I don't know, like 10 different experts in there, how to get started on Instagram. What about sustainability? Like how to quick sketch your ideas. If you don't know how to really sketch, how do you get them? How do you find a pattern maker? All the things. What does a pattern maker expect of you? Anything that you're going to go through on the business side of a clothing or accessories line is in that course. It's not just about manufacturing. It's not just about getting sales. It's not just about financing and how to get money together. It's all of it on the business side. We don't teach you how to design a line. Okay. But we do help you understand how to source fabrics, all the things. Anyway, I'll stop talking right now, but that is what's up. Check it out, fashionbrainacademy.com. Thank you for tuning in. I am going to go take my next meeting outside in the 75-degree sunny weather, Chicago. Thank you, universe. See you next time, everybody. Have an amazing day. And keep in mind, do not forget, perfect is good, but done is better. Go get that shizzle done. All right, go do the things.